Electra Donatella had never been a woman to waste a crisis. Where others saw scandal, she saw spotlight. Where others panicked, she positioned. That was her gift. That was her instinct. So when she witnessed Luna Nozawa pull a gun in the middle of a Spencer estate confrontation, a moment that sent shockwaves through the Forresters, the Spencers, and all of Los Angeles, Electra didn't recoil in horror. She saw something different. Opportunity. The chaos, the tension, the trembling gasps. Those weren't just symptoms of trauma. To Electra, they were raw, cinematic gold. She had been there, on site, filming a casual social media behind the scenes for her upcoming activewear line, E-Drive. It was meant to be a soft drop, a tease. Some stretching, some glam, a few shots with Will Spencer, something cute, marketable. Then Luna arrived, and in the blink of an eye, everything spiraled. The gun was pulled. People screamed. Electra froze, but not entirely. Her phone was still recording, hidden just well enough to capture the chaos in real time. She didn't know she had gold until she reviewed it that night. And when she did, everything changed. There it was, Will, eyes wide, hands up, Luna crying, shaking, gun trembling in her grip. The screams, the panic, the sheer emotional weight, it was the kind of footage no scripted drama could replicate. In that moment, Electra didn't just see a story. She saw the making of a brand. She didn't tell anyone. Not the Forresters. Not the Spencers. Not the authorities. She saved the video, encrypted it, and began making calls. Discreet ones. She started with lower-tier media outlets, tabloids desperate for a scoop, blogs that didn't ask questions. She offered them a pitch, exclusive access to the most controversial moment of the year, asterisk in exchange for full-scale coverage of her new activewear line star. Not just an ad. A campaign. Stories, features, interviews. Electra Donatella. The influencer who survived the Spencer scare. She didn't lie, she framed. She exaggerated. She reinvented herself in real time as the socialite who kept her cool while a gun was pointed at LA's golden boy. And it worked. The media bit. Slowly at first, then rapidly. Within days, Electra's follower count jumped by the thousands. Then tens of thousands. Her vague post, asterisk, what I witnessed that day still haunts me. But I'm stronger now. Hashtag E-Drive, hashtag Power in Crisis, asterisk, went viral. People begged for more. They wanted the full story. They wanted the video. But Electra, ever the strategist, withheld it. Teased it. Let the demand build. Behind the scenes, she made her move. She arranged a private deal with a mid-tier digital news outlet hungry to leap into the big leagues. They'd get the video. But only if they ran a series of exclusive articles about E-Drive, her journey as a brand visionary, and her new role as the face of resilience in fashion. Photo shoots were arranged. PR statements were drafted. Interviews were scripted. All of it carefully constructed around her new persona, not just a witness, but a woman transformed by trauma, harnessing fear and turning it into fashion. The Forresters began to catch wind. Steffi was the first to suspect something. The timing was too neat. The buzz around Electra was growing too fast, too loud. And when the first article dropped, inside the E-Drive Warrior, Electra Donatella's exclusive witness account of the Spencer estate standoff, Steffi's fury exploded. She confronted Electra in her office. This was about family, she snapped. About a child being threatened. You think this is some viral stunt? Electra didn't flinch. It is viral, she said coldly. And whether you like it or not, people are listening to me. That means people are looking at Forrester. You're welcome. Ridge was livid. He threatened to pull Electra's designs from the showroom. But it was too late. The coverage had exploded. Talk shows debated the morality of monetizing trauma, but the public, addicted to drama, couldn't look away. The full video was finally released, with Elektra's logo watermarked discreetly in the bottom right corner. It was brutal, real, raw, and it went everywhere, trending on every platform, covered on late-night talk shows. Analysts broke it down frame by frame. Elektra's voice narrating over it, professionally recorded, full of heartbreak and strength, was the final stroke of brilliance. She wasn't just showing the moment. She was owning it. Sales for eDrive doubled overnight. But not everyone was impressed. Brooke called her shameless. Katie called her dangerous. Even Hope distanced herself, refusing to let HFTF be associated with what she called predatory branding. But Elektra didn't care. She had her empire now, and it was built on something more potent than fabric. It was built on a moment. A memory. A gun. And she wasn't done. She launched a limited line called Survivor Fit, camo prints, performance gear, each item tagged with slogans like "Own the Moment," "Fearless," and "Never Blink." Every piece sold out. Influencers copied the style. TikTok challenges emerged, dramatizing the video, mimicking the moment, all while tagging Elektra. She had gone from fringe designer to pop culture fixture in less than 2 weeks. But the backlash grew just as fast. Legal threats began piling in. Bill Spencer's attorneys sent a cease and desist, claiming the footage was unauthorized and defamatory. Will's mother, Katie, threatened to sue. Even Luna, despite being vilified, issued a public statement calling Elektra's actions morally disgusting. Elektra responded with a carefully curated video, teary-eyed but poised. "I didn't share that video to hurt anyone. I shared it because the truth matters. And because in that moment, I realized how quickly life can change. I chose to rise. And I want others to do the same." The comment section split in two, half furious, half inspired. Inside Forrester, the fallout was undeniable. Steffi pushed to sever all business ties. Eric was quietly disgusted. But someone else saw the value. Thomas. Always a schemer, always a risk-taker, he pulled Elektra into a private meeting. "You saw what no one else saw," he said. "And you moved first. That's power." He didn't care about ethics. He cared about impact. And with the Forresters' bleeding relevance in the youth market, Elektra was suddenly a golden ticket. He offered her a deal, co-create a new line under a Forrester sublabel. Ultramodern, bold, provocative. Elektra agreed, on one condition: creative control. Total. The deal was inked in secret. And as the scandal raged on, Elektra's position solidified. She became the most talked about woman in Los Angeles fashion, not because of talent, but because of timing. Because when the world was falling apart, she found the camera. She found the angle. She found her light. And in the unforgiving world of glamour, that was all that mattered. As Luna Nozawa disappeared into the shadows of Los Angeles, fleeing the storm of legal firepower and public condemnation summoned by Bill Spencer, the noise outside grew louder, but the real storm was inside her. Every step she took away from the Spencer estate, every alley she ducked into, every burner phone she used to call no one, dragged her further into a kind of silence that only the truly cornered know. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. And she didn't stop remembering. The image of Will's terrified face haunted her every blink, but it was more than that. It wasn't just the gun, or the moment, or the fear. It was something older, deeper. It was the look of a child who didn't know why someone was pointing danger at him. And Luna had seen that look before on her own face, in her own mirror, in her own past. Because Luna hadn't grown up safe. She hadn't grown up still. Her mother, Poppy Nozawa, had raised her with charm and desperation in equal measure. They never stayed anywhere for long, never unpacked completely, always chasing some man or running from one. New schools, new jobs, new stories. Poppy was warm, radiant, but slippery, always changing cities, names, lovers. Luna learned to lie with a smile. She learned to adapt. She learned to survive. But what she never learned was how to trust the ground beneath her feet. And now, years later, that ground had disappeared again. Only this time, there was a gun in the picture. A child. Headlines. Police. And Luna's name in bold letters she couldn't erase. The media branded her as reckless, unhinged, even dangerous. Bill made sure of that. Footage of the incident circulated online with manipulated commentary, spliced images, blurred context. The public wanted a villain, and Luna's face fit the narrative. But beneath the firestorm, another story was surfacing. A quiet, complicated story, one that didn't begin with a gun, but with a mother. Poppy Nozawa had lived her life on instinct. A woman of soft smiles and hard decisions. She had made mistakes, many of them. She'd lied to protect herself. She'd manipulated situations. She'd trusted the wrong men. But the one thing she had never done was abandon Luna. No matter how chaotic things got, Poppy stayed. She bent the world around her to make it work for her daughter, even when it cracked them both. So now, when Luna vanished and the city turned hostile, Poppy didn't run. She paused. Then she acted. First, she began quietly floating the idea that Luna hadn't been the one to bring the weapon. That the confrontation had been the result of long-standing emotional pressure. That Luna's action wasn't a threat, it was a collapse. A trauma response. And in hushed circles, Poppy told a different version of the story, that the gun was hers, that she had brought it for protection after months of feeling unsafe, that Luna had found it by accident, that everything that happened was a tragedy, but one rooted in Poppy's own failure to shield her daughter. Soon, rumors began to swirl. Anonymous tips hit message boards. Journalists received cryptic emails suggesting a confession was coming. Speculation exploded. Was Poppy going to turn herself in? Was she really the one who set the stage for the standoff? Or was this just another manipulation from a woman long known for evasion? The public divided instantly. On one side, the outrage grew sharper, another parent blaming the system to cover their child. But on the other, a wave of empathy rose. Hashtags began trending. Hashtag Free Luna. Hashtag Mother for Daughter. Hashtag System failed them both. Old interviews of Poppy surfaced. Clips of Luna as a child, performing at school, hugging her mother. Context began to soften perception. Maybe this wasn't about violence. Maybe this was about survival. Maybe Luna wasn't a threat. Maybe she was the product of instability, neglect, fear, and unconditional, if chaotic, maternal love. And then, without announcement, Poppy walked into a downtown LAPD precinct. No press, no lawyer, no drama, just a statement. She wished to speak to a detective regarding the incident at the Spencer estate. She requested immunity for Luna in exchange for full disclosure. She claimed possession of the weapon. Claimed the bag Luna used that day had been hers. Claimed Luna never knew the gun was there. That she panicked when she found it and it went too far. Her voice trembled, but she didn't back down. "Punish me," she said, "but let my daughter live her life." The legal system staggered under the weight of the moment. Prosecutors had already been building a case around Luna's perceived intent. They were backed by public opinion, Spencer influence, and viral coverage. But Poppy's confession, if even partially true, threatened to unravel the entire narrative. Her admission forced a pause. Evidence had to be re-examined. Motive had to be reframed, and public discourse shifted again. Was Luna really guilty of a crime? Or had she been trapped in a generational failure? A child dragged into chaos she didn't create? Forensics ran tests on the weapon. Prints, fibers, DNA. The results were inconclusive. But the sudden credibility of Poppy's statement, combined with the glaring holes in Bill Spencer's campaign of vengeance, weakened the case. The DA's office hesitated, and the media, ravenous for complexity, jumped at the new angle. Mother confesses to save daughter, sacrifice or strategy. The internet turned into a battlefield of opinion. Commentators clashed. News anchors debated ethics. Was Poppy lying for love, or finally telling the truth? Should a child's future be protected at the cost of a parent's freedom? Did trauma explain behavior, or excuse it? Polls fluctuated daily. Some called for both women to be charged. Others demanded Luna's full exoneration and Poppy's release. But one thing became clear: Luna was no longer just a girl with a gun. She was a symbol of instability, of flawed motherhood, of inherited survival mechanisms, of the failures of society to see beyond the moment of panic. And in that symbolism, the story gained traction. Forrester Creations, watching the cultural tides, began to distance from the scandal. But Hope Logan, moved by the growing sympathy, publicly stated that HFDF was founded on second chances and truth. She called for compassion. Brooke disagreed. Ridge remained silent. But Thomas, ever attuned to the power of redemption arcs, saw potential. If this spins right, he told Steffi, Luna's not just back, she's untouchable. And then came the turning point. Will Spencer, after weeks of silence, issued a private message to authorities. Through his therapist, he confirmed that Luna had appeared shocked, more afraid than aggressive. That her hands had shaken. That she kept saying she didn't know how it happened. That she never pointed the gun with intent. This small act, this nuanced, vulnerable admission, shifted everything. The DA's office, under pressure, dropped charges against Luna pending further investigation into Poppy's statement. Luna, still underground, was contacted by her mother's legal team. You're free, they told her. But your mother isn't. Poppy faced charges of possession, obstruction, and potential endangerment. But she accepted them. And as she was led out of court in handcuffs, cameras flashed, microphones swarmed, and she simply said, "This is the only thing I've ever been sure of." Let my daughter go, the public roared. Online discourse caught fire. Opinion pieces praised her. Others condemned her. But Luna, freed from the legal vice, emerged cautiously. Pale, shaken, but stronger. She issued a single statement. My mother made mistakes. So did I. But no one should have to pay for love with exile. And just like that, the narrative flipped. From threat to survivor. From suspect to symbol. And in the background, Poppy sat in her cell, not asking for forgiveness, but knowing one thing above all. For once in her life, she didn't run. She stayed. For Luna,